now. Never give up on yourself, 'cause there is no one else to ever be the way.
Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome back to SMILE. SMILE stands for support, motivate, invest, love, and educate. My name is Nate Harris, and I am your host for today, and we are blessed to have a man that I highly respect. He's a coach, he's an entrepreneur, he's a pastor, he's kind of all of the above. I'm glad to have you here, Juan. How you doing today, brother?
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I am very, very honored to be here and having you as my interviewer.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, you've been coaching for a long time, and I know you've coached me in a lot of different ways as well, but you started your coaching in baseball and basketball, correct?
That is correct.
How long have you been coaching? Talk to me about what got you into coaching and why you started that journey.
Well, you know, it was a journey unexpected. I didn't think to be a coach. It just happened by accident, right?
Yeah.
My son, his name is Junior, and I've been coaching for over 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it started where I took him to a baseball game, T-ball. We were out there. He hit the ball first, and you know how kids are. He ran to the mound. he ran to the
first base, huh?
The first base.
I have a couple stories like that too when I was a young kid about this. I remember one time when I was running to first base, and I wanted to get a double, but they threw the ball to first base, and I hit the ball at the guy's hand so I could run to the first base. Wow. They wanted to kick me out the league and everything from that. So you've been coaching for so long. I don't want to date you because you say 25 years, but I know you're just a young and active guy, but you're trying to get a book started.
Yes.
Talk to me about this book that you want to get started.
Well, the book started because of the fact that when I was coaching, I noticed a lot of things, you know, and one of the things that I wanted to do is to inform parents. It says it's a practical guide to parents on raising student athletes.
Yes.
So it's for a parent or a single parent or parents with a couple, and they are to know, for example, what kind of coach you want your kid to be under.
Wow.
Because there's different types of coaches. The reason why I got into coaching is because the coach that was coaching my son, he was coaching his son and used everybody else around his son.
Yeah,
right?
and what age was this at this time?
He was 4 years old.
Okay, yes, definitely. Because I mean, I've experienced that as well, being an athlete, growing up. Coaches, especially the coaches who don't have really money involved, you're not making money, you're just really doing it for your own child at that point.
Right.
And you're just trying to prep your child up, and you're not really paying attention to everyone going around.
That's a good idea. That's a good point, because coaches, back in the day, coaches were taxi cab drivers, they were external parents, they were counselors, they were all the ones that you would say, you know, a lot of times parents are single parent mothers. And so they wanted to put kids, men, young kids, in an environment so they could see a male leadership role. So that's how it happened. So
what do you think that's missing right now, and what's the main thing you think parents should know about being a student athlete and growing up in the youth world? Like, what should they look out for in a coach?
Well, first of all, you want to know how good your son is. You know, when you're young, you just put him in there for the experience. There comes a point in time, just like you, where somebody came up to the parents and they said, "Man, your kid, he's pretty good." Yeah. So you have to decide, for one, how far do you go? And do you want them to focus a lot explicitly about that sports? Because if they're a student athlete, what comes first? Student, then athlete, right?
Definitely.
But there's a point in time, and it probably happened to you too, when you got to a certain point and you said, "I want to take this to the next level.
Yes.
I want to do this more than just having fun. I can probably get a college degree. I can probably get a college scholarship with that, right?"
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, you hit on a great point, student athlete, and a lot of us, we forget the student part, especially when you're getting young and you start realizing that you are good. I was somebody who played travel ball baseball throughout my whole life, right? And I actually got taken off of a travel ball team by my parents because the travel ball team, it was 12 of us who were all amazing athletes. We all were going to college. Some of them are playing in the MLB now. But one day, they wanted to have a pizza party on a Sunday night, and we had school the next morning. And they criticized my father for not wanting to bring me there. And he said, "Look, I don't care about all this baseball stuff. My son's going to make sure he's at school on time. We're
Right.
not going to be tired instead of partying all night
Right.
after a baseball tournament that we've been struggling with all weekend to be at, you know.
Yeah.
So the student part is definitely important first. So when the kid gets to, let's say 12 years old and they realize, okay,
Right.
I want to take this to the next level, how do they decide whether should I focus more on school, should I focus more on the athletics? Like, how do they make that decision?
See, that's a good point. Around 12 years old, right? There are some parents, like my son, he was 12, but he played on a 14-year-old team. He got skipped, right? So some parents, they will say, you know, I want my kid to have a good a student. I want him to be a student, but I want him to be the best athletic, right? So they'll pull their child back. So if he might be in the 6th grade, but his age, my son was in October, so he moved up. Some people put him back a year or 2 years, and they're still going to be the same ages with the other kids. So that's something that you have to determine that too. There's some parents who say, I want them to go to, you know, a higher grade. I want them to be just as athletic because they played up for so long. So it's the parents, it's not the kid per se.
Would you recommend, because it's getting popular now that a lot of parents are holding their kids back
Yes.
in 8th grade, you know, so they have that extra advantage, not just in athletics, but also in academics. Are you someone who recommends that, or you think that that's kind of unfair? Because now we have kids who are graduating high school at 19 years old.
Right, right.
How do you feel about that?
Well, let's use an example of my son. He was 4, and he went with 6th graders. I mean, 6-year-olds. Now, he went with 6-year-olds all the way up till 6th grade, right? And I'm thinking, okay, let's bring him back. It's too late for that. Either you keep him back when you first start, or you let him go and just forget about it. Because if you bring him back, he'll be with kids his same age, but he's so academically smarter. And that's the reason why we put our son in a higher grade, because we were trying to make sure that he stayed busy. He was in a class and he was bored. The teacher had to do a lot of things for him. So that's one of the things that we talk about in the book. The book is not even, it hasn't even started yet, but I'm excited about it because when I mention it to everybody, they have a story, just like I was talking to you off camera, and you was telling me your story, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important. I am kind of against the hold back rule, okay?
Right.
And the reason why I'm against it is because I'm actually I'm young for the grade that I was in. So I actually graduated high school, and when I first got to college, I was 17 years old, my first college football game, and the next day I turned 18. So I was actually a younger guy.
Right.
And so when I was playing sports, my classmates were always a level higher than me because they were always an age older than I was.
Right.
So when I got to 8th grade and my dad sat me down and said, hey man, you know, this is when it started getting popular. We could hold you back for a year.
Right.
Do you want to do this? And at the time I was in my ego and said, no, I'm going to high school. I'm going to work through it. I'm going to work it out. And I went to high school, ended up getting a scholarship, excelled academically, excelled athletically. But if I look back on it, if I would have got held back, it would have been a completely different story.
Yes.
But I think that it is when you're growing up in a certain age group, and then you hold someone back. Sometimes I don't think that is fair. But sometimes, you know, you have to look at the long run. You think it's smarter at the long run. You know.
Well, see, your parent did something I didn't do. I didn't ask my son. See, I could have held him back, but I didn't ask him, and he just. In fact, you graduated when you were 17. He graduated when he was 16. He was a beast.
Yeah.
But he called me from college. He said, Dad, these kids are driving. They're driving. He was 16. He couldn't even have it.
Yeah.
So can you imagine him? He's catching for kids who are 20 and 21 years old. And back when when you're young, 1 year is a huge. There's a huge jump. If you're in the 5th grade and you say, he's in the 6th grade, like he's so far advanced, right? So I would say parents have to be actively involved in those. They are the gardeners of your kids. Yeah, and sometimes, and it's in the book, sometimes a kid will try to live out the parent's dream. And you have to recognize, and parents, sometimes they do it consciously, but sometimes they do it subconsciously too. So that's part of the book that when you read in that part, you want to say, I didn't make it, and it really seemed like I'm trying to make my kid live my dreams.
Yeah. And that's kind of what leads me to my next point, and because there's a lot of kids who are naturally athletic and they're really, really good, and so their parents are like, look, this is a way we can make a lot of money.
Absolutely.
You can get to the MLB, you can get
Yes.
to the NBA, you can get to the NFL.
Right.
But sometimes the kid's desire isn't always there, but they just feel like that's just what God has put them here to do because they're athletic. But they want to do other things. You know, they may want to
Right.
start a business or play an instrument or be in a drum line.
Right.
What can you say to parents who have kids who are athletically inclined of not putting that pressure on them to make them want to or have to play this sport?
I'll give you an example. There was a young man. He was a beast, and for people who don't know what a beast means, that means that he was a man among boys, right? The parent, he went from baseball, through, batted, did everything in baseball season, went immediately to basketball, went from there to football, never gave his son enough time to rest his body. Sometimes the meal ticket, they don't look at that.
That was
and that
my
is
life.
one of the most, I've seen it, and when you try to tell them, hey, your son is pretty good.
Yeah.
Has he been rested? No, man, we're going to something else.
Yeah.
When you're young, you think you can be Superman, right? But it comes back to haunt him.
Yeah.
One of the examples was one of the kids, he can pitch, he could throw curveballs at 12. Come on. You shouldn't do that, right?
Yeah, killing their arms.
When he's in high school, he couldn't throw across the classroom.
Yeah.
Wore him out.
Yeah.
So I give examples in the book of how you don't want to use the kid for your advancement.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I like you explain my life. You know, I was playing basketball, football, baseball, all three sports. And baseball I played all year long. So if it was basketball season, I was going from a baseball tournament to a basketball game. If it was football season, I'm going to a football game to a baseball game. So I've always had that three sports dynamic. And growing up, I wanted it. It wasn't like my parents were forcing it on me.
Right.
But like I was saying earlier, I feel like baseball was my natural gift.
Right.
But I played baseball so much all throughout every single year that when I got to 8th grade, I was exhausted. And I said, you know what, if I want to get a scholarship, whether it be baseball or football, I'm going to choose football because I don't want to catch ground balls 365 days of the year. I don't want to be in batting cage all, I didn't want to do that. So I think it is definitely important that parents don't put that pressure on their kids or they're mindful because sometimes the kids don't know that they're getting exhausted. Right. They're having fun themselves.
Well, that's why I said the parents are the guardian. They have to say yay or nay, even though the kid might want to play. Like you were saying, you was ready to go to the next one. You was ready to go. But there's sometimes, listen, I wanted to make sure too that my son had a full life, that he just wasn't just in sports, and let him go to a party maybe every now and then. So he could be well-rounded. We traveled, like you said, so he saw experiences in different parts of the city. So he was well-rounded. He was socially accepted. He could be social with everybody. So parents play a very, very important role. Now, when the parents are not there, it's the coach. The coach has to be aware of the things that happen. And the coach sometimes can recommend where the next step is, where to go and lead. This is one example too. The coach went to a high school for a kid that he wanted to go to that school, but the academics were not good. So he went and told the parent, but the parent said, no, that's a good baseball. That's a good baseball school. But academically, it's not there. We want to make sure student athlete, right?
Student athlete.
Yes.
And that's definitely important. Like I keep talking to people about this concept of Operation Complete Human. That was developed because of me growing up, being so infused into sports, and then being so focused on football. Going to school, I'm making my lunch every day. I'm waking up early. After school, I would go home and just rest because I wanted to prepare for the workout the next day. And so when I graduated college, I looked around me and I realized there was so much going on around me outside of the sports world and the sports bubble. Insurance, taxes, business, real life type things that I was not in touch with. I mean, even just enjoying life, doing hobbies and activities. When someone asks me, what's your hobby? I don't know what my hobby is. It is playing sports or watching TV or just hanging out with friends or just relaxing because I've always just been go, sports. So I think it's important to have a well-rounded child there as well. But right now what's going on with our society is the fact that a lot of you know, with there's travel ball football now, there's travel baseball, there's travel basketball, and a lot of these kids are only going to one sport sometimes. They're only doing one thing. How do you feel about, I know you don't want to wear them down, but how do you feel about them being well-rounded instead of only focusing on one sport, or maybe just focusing on not only sports, other things as well?
Well, in the book, you have to start let them do everything, be exposed to all that. But like we were just talking about, it comes a point in time, say, listen, I can't do all of that. And the other aspect too is like what you were just saying. You had said that I got to a point where, what if your kid wants to walk away? And you've invested, because I've heard parents, man, I had all these coaches, I had all these trainers, and now they just want to walk away. Well, what does that have to do with you? You want your son to be, or your daughter to be happy. And when it stops to become happy, then that's not good. And after you've done so much and you walk away from sports, you realize, or you think, who am I? I mean, I've been doing this for so long. Here's what I tell kids. Everything that you've learned in that sport, I want you to make sure that you take not just the sport itself, but the approach to it. You just mentioned about being prepared, knowing your body, getting your education. Those things, you can apply that in any aspects of your life. Insurance, whatever you're into, real estate, the approach is what I teach in terms of coaching, not the actual X's and O's. That's the best thing about it. I'm excited, man.
I'm excited too.
I'm excited about
I have
this.
so much more for you.
Yes.
Stay around, guys, because we'll be right back, and I have more for you guys.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it,
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got, or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
And we're back with Coach Juan, author, soon-to-be author. So we've been talking about these kids and the transition of being a kid and too much going on with sports.
Yes.
And you brought something up in the last segment that I wanted to touch back on is letting your kids walk away if they're ready to walk away. You know, and I have an experience that when I was in probably 4th or 5th grade, and my dad wanted me to go play with Snoop Dogg's team at the time, right? And this was a team that was somewhere totally different, but I didn't want to go play over there at the time. I wanted to be around my friends still.
Right.
And I told my dad, you know, I want to walk away. I don't want to do this. I don't want to play. And one thing that I've always admired about my dad is he would always pump this into our heads because he knew the greater good of getting a scholarship and all that. But when I was ready to walk away, and I played baseball until when I was about 8th grade, and once I got to that 8th grade year, I said, you know what, I want to focus solely on football. I know he wanted to tell me, boy, you are bad at baseball. You better not give it up. I know he wanted to tell me that. But he was completely fine with it, you know, and he supported every decision that I made.
He didn't say anything.
Didn't say anything, supported every decision I made. He never, you know, and he was the dad who would wake us up on Saturday, and we weren't the ones who got chores. You know, when we got in trouble, we had to go run the hill, and we had to go do this, this, and that. But if we didn't want to do that, he said, hey, all right, you're hurting your own self right now. You know, he was never that pressure parent, that was pushy.
It gets to a point where you're going to have to make two decisions, okay? And I'll tell parents right now, okay, everybody's coming to that child and saying, hey, he can go to the next level. He can go to the next level. And that's good. As a parent, if you say that, then now he's going to have to separate himself, because before it was all about hanging out with your boys. Hey, I want to play with this. But when you go to a travel team that you don't know anybody, but everybody on the team is good, you have to say, now I have to hone my skills. So parents have to understand sometimes there's a disconnect. You have to get your child in the best possible position so they can make it to the next level. And parents, I really commend parents, because they're sacrificing too. For the long haul. They do a lot of things, and sometimes that goes unnoticed. But the best thing about it, and probably like you did, I'm not sure if you did this or not, when we have like a celebration at the end of the season, when the kid goes up and they get their trophy, the first thing they say, I want to thank my parents.
Yes.
And then I want to thank my coaches. That's one of the things that you can get. In other words, to give back.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you walk away from the game, you really don't walk away. You walk into something else.
Exactly.
And when you do that, you want to make sure that the people that are coming behind you, just like the reason why I'm writing the book, is because I want to give experience to parents who are right now in the same spot. Yeah. They probably having their cleats and they're about like this big. They're putting their kids ready. They're signing them up and getting their little uniform on there, number 8 or whatever, right? Yeah. I'm giving it to them, so now they have a blueprint. They have a roadmap to go to. Yeah, that's the best thing.
Definitely, you know, and that's why I live my life through my parents, because I realize now how much they sacrificed for me, sports and education, where they raised me, all that. Even my coaches, I always pay it back, but even now I try to pay it forward, because I had a big brother to look up to. So a lot of the little tricks of the trade I had just right in my house, just watching him. So I knew I couldn't do this, or I should do this. This was his mistake. I have to counter that mistake, but I still made mistakes. So now, like, I have my little cousin who's just, you know, started playing college basketball, and I'm trying to tell him everything. You know, be strong over here, be strong over here, stand up for what you believe in. You know, you and your coach, that is your coach, respect his authority, but you are a man as well. You know, you have to, you know, he has to respect you and understand how you like to play, be comfortable, you know. So it's really important that we all do share our experiences and share and pay it forward and pay it back to whoever kind of helped us get there, and then whoever's coming behind us.
I got a question for you then. Like I told my son, that was the one, he was good. I had 2 sons. I have 2 sons, three grandkids, and 1 on the way. What is next? Like, now, I'm gonna ask you a question. You're of the age that you would have kids, right? How would you raise your son or daughter if they wanted to be in sports? What direction would you do? Is there anything that you would do different? Anything that you liked when you were coming up, being taught?
The only thing, I wouldn't do anything different, to be honest with you, because again, the way my dad did it, looking back on it, was the perfect way, in my opinion, because I love the way that I've came out of this, because again, there was times where I didn't like I felt pressured, or I felt like I had to play this sport, or I had to do this, or I had to do that. But the pressure really wasn't there. It was kind of in my own head. But now, again, the way I look back on things, and I look at it from more of an adult perspective than a childlike perspective, I would still push my children. I still would get them in sports. I know I was a football player. My son isn't going to play tackle football until at least the age of 12 if he desires to do that. But one thing that I will do, you know, because I even remember my dad early on, I was never wanted to play basketball. Never. Never wanted to play basketball growing up. It was baseball or football, same with my brother, but my dad was always emphasizing basketball, right? He would always have it in our ear. And I'm like, Dad, I'm not playing. But again, he never forced that upon us. He never did. And so I would always give them so many opportunities. The only thing is I would still keep it broad. You know, I would offer them more opportunities to play soccer, maybe tennis, hockey. There's so many other sports that we don't touch on that we can't excel in. Golf, you know. But I look at sports differently now. You know, I don't want them to be so inside of the sports world, but sports does so much for us. It helps us build character, family, camaraderie. You know, if I go into a job interview and I bring up I play sports, the first thing that they talk about is team and teamwork. So sports is amazing. It's an amazing thing that we have here. But I don't know if I would do anything too much different than the way my parents did it.
Well, one of the reasons why I asked you that, because, like you said, sports is about not just X's and O's. Because I was coaching, but I was coaching your approach to the game. And when you do that, it's all about attitude. And that's what we tell a lot of the kids. And you can coach attitudes, because we'll look at the NBA and all the professionals. Some coaches can handle big-time players, and it's all about their attitudes and how do you guide someone and make them get the best out of everything that they have. Coaches are very, very important. Just like parents, just like anybody in leadership. And you want to make sure that you recognize the spirit in a child, and you want to bring out some of the things that they don't see in themselves. Right.
So I also wanted to bring up, and I want to know what your opinion on this is, because again, coaches are important. And they're very important, and they're right there with the parents in the development of a child or a young man, young woman. When it comes to playing kids early, and you know how some organizations you have to play the kids, and it's about fun and it's about getting everybody on the field, but some coaches are all about winning.
Yes.
How do you feel about a coach being so focused on winning than being focused on having a fun time and getting everyone involved? Because in real life, that's what they're going to encounter.
Right.
So should they prepare them for real life and say, look, you need to get better over here, you need to work harder at practice, or you won't get on the field? Or should it be like, oh, let's just all have fun and everyone gets on the field?
Well, there's stages to it. Yeah, and when you're young, you want to make sure that everybody plays. But you probably know when you get into high school, and I was a high school basketball coach, right? And I was wondering, when I first started, they say we have 14 kids, but we only played 12 kids. I reversed that. I played everybody.
Okay.
Because I told them, hey, listen, everybody contributed. Everybody should have a time where they can put their foot on the field. Because a lot of times, if they don't play, they feel separated. So I'm of the opinion that it's good to play everybody. And in UCLA, there was a time that he has to do. And that way, the time that he has to do is something that, it was a guy from UCLA, he never played on the basketball team. And he wrote a book about how he hated coach, but he realized that the coach did the best thing for him. He started out saying, I didn't like it. He was an all-star player, and when he got to college, everybody was an all-star, and he never played. But he said he saw the benefits of not playing but still participating on a team.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing.
That was he bought that book, and he gave it to me, and it was fantastic.
Amazing.
Yes.
So if you had one last thing to say to anybody who's interested in purchasing this book in the future, look in that camera, let them know exactly what they are going to find in this book and what they should expect from it.
Okay. I'm talking to parents, young parents, or even older parents. I'm a grandparent, and I'm starting over again. Just want to let you know that you can put in quality work in your child, in your grandchild, cousin, nephew, anything. Whatever you put in is going to come back out. So be positive in everything you do. God bless.
Are you on social media? Are you anywhere else?
I am Coach Young at 4695. That's my email address.
Okay.
I'm trying to start the social media thing.
I know this guy has so much energy, but you know he's like 63, but I thought he was 55 for the past 3 years.
Oh, really?
I thought he was 55, so he has the most energy.
Maybe I should code a little bit older.
I thought he was young, just getting gray hair early.
Yeah. No,
This
it's
is my
me
guy.
hanging around young kids like you. I love your energy, and I think that's what happens. When I coach, I always
love
coach
your
from
energy.
another
I love it.
perspective.
When I'm 63, I hope I have the same energy you have.
Well, you started like that. I hope you continue that.
Well, I hope so.
Thank
well,
you.
thank you guys so much for tuning in to SMILE. Again, SMILE stands for support, motivate, invest, love, and educate. I hope you enjoyed today's programming and pick up the book from Pastor Juan. He's a great guy, great motivator, great coach in so many different areas, and I guarantee you guys will not be disappointed.
Never give up on yourself, 'cause there is no one else to ever be the way you are. Never give up on your dreams, that you will be that person you always wanted to be. And this life is worth living in the way you want to live. You gotta just believe. Never give in to your fears when they keep telling you can't do what you were born to do. No. Never give up on your strength that you have in your heart. choices in the way you want to live. You gotta